Phillips. I'm an applications engineer here at MCAD Technologies, and we're going to be talking about SolidWorks surfacing and freeform design today. You know, there are a lot of great tools that we have with the SolidWorks software to deal with designs that are more complex than those that are easily done with standard SOD modeling. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is switch right over to SolidWorks, and you all should see I have an assembly up here on my screen. Okay. Yeah, we should be showing that screen now. All right. So what we have is a simple knife mechanism. Now this is actually like one of those electric carver devices, and as you can see, we don't have a handle for this yet. We've got the internals. What we're going to be doing today is designing a quick little handle to enclose the motor and the other inner workings of this assembly. So you can see we've got some kind of cool motion here. Motor turns. We've got the knives can slide back and forth here. So that's kind of neat. What I have here, and let me go ahead and open up something from my design binder. What I have here is a situation that you may come across if you do a lot of surfacing, where we have an artist's rendering, and this is just a couple of views. We've got a top view and a side view of this handle that we want to build around our assembly. So, you know, with SolidWorks, it's really easy to take information like this and import it into our assembly. In fact, I've already done that. I'm going to go ahead and show one of my sketches here. So this sketch basically just has this, you know, we can import a number of different image files. I believe this is a JPEG. We import this into a sketch as a sketch picture. And from here we can actually begin to trace out some of these contours and actually create the geometry for our handle. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to edit this blank part in the context of our assembly and go ahead and fire up a quick sketch. Now when we're working with surface models, you can see I've got the spline tool here. Splines are very, very useful for surfacing. You know, they give us a lot of control over different things like our changing curvature, changing radius, and really they're great for doing things like tracing out shapes like this. So you can see what I've done here is I've just traced out this top edge of the model. And sorry, I'm just I'm checking to make sure that everybody can see the screen still. So I'm going to add a couple of relations here, and we need a couple of different lines in order to begin to create some surfaces for this design. So what I'm going to do is start another sketch on our front plane, and let's take a look at this from the side. So we've got our top edge, and I'm just going to go ahead and sketch a quick arc so that we can create our first circle. Or I'm sorry, rather our first surface. So we will just make sure that these items intersect and add a few relations to get everything lined up. Okay, and I'm just going to drag the circle down to about here. That should match up pretty well with our model. Okay, so we've got a couple of sketches here, and what we're going to do is create a surface. So I'm going to go into my Surfaces tab up here in the Command Manager. These are all our surfacing tools. So we're going to create a two-dimensional surface, or rather I should say a three-dimensional surface with zero thickness. So I'm going to go to the Sweep tool. In this case, I already have my profile. This is going to be my path, this line here. So you can see the preview, and this actually looks pretty nice. With the surface sweep, we have lots of different options for controlling the geometry. What I'm going to do is select keep normal constant just to straighten out this shape. And you can see, of course, that this surface is following really nicely that upper contour. Of course, one problem here is obviously, and you can see this once I complete the feature, this lower surface area is not matching up with our sketch, and it's not really enclosing all of that geometry in here. So what we're going to have to do is make some changes to this surface. Now SolidWorks has a tool called Freeform, and this is really a great tool for pushing and pulling geometry that we've already created. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Freeform tool here. This is another one of our surfacing tools. Now, one nice thing that I can do here is I can change the transparency. So I'm going to turn up the transparency a little bit. Okay, and what we're going to do is make sure we have the right contact conditions. So essentially what I can do here is tell the tool which edges, which areas of the surface I would like to be able to move, which I'd like to stay, what sort of continuity they need to maintain to the original surface, because we are going to be pushing and pulling things around here. Once I've done that, I'm going to add some control points. So we're actually going to be using this bottom edge first, and I'm just going to add a few points that I can actually push and pull the whole surface with. So I've added those 3 points. Excuse me. And now what I can actually do, this is the fun part, I can actually take these control points and use them to freeform or deform the surface. So you can see really easily I can go right ahead and begin doing things like pushing out this surface, and you can see the edge there, so that's going to be my my surface once I'm done with this freeform. Obviously I'm not matching up to this perfectly. Don't worry too much about the smaller details since this is just a demo. But obviously we can do lots of more in-depth control if we need to. Okay, so looking at this from the side, you can see that we are matching up to our sketch pretty well. If I look at this from the top, though, obviously there's still a little bit of a problem. We've got this motor is sort of sticking out, or maybe that's cooling. Yeah, okay, so that is the motor. We need to morph our surface a little bit more. So in order to do that, I'm going to actually add a control curve. So I've clicked on the Add Curves button right up here, and we're going to specify an area where we'd like to push or pull on the surface right here. And if I go ahead and just use the default curve setting, you'll see that once I click on it, it brings back these control points that I had from the last control curve. So that's really nice. It means that I don't spend much time creating more control points. So I'll just pull this out a little bit, and actually let's pull this one up a little more. Make sure we have room for that motor. And I'm just going to play with my tangency, make sure that's a nice aesthetically pleasing curve. Just push this in a little bit, give a little bit of character. Okay. All right, so one of the things that I can do in this tool is look at my curvature data. So if you're not familiar with curvature, if you haven't worked a whole lot with this, these curvature combs are basically telling me the rate at which the curvature of the surface is changing, the rate at which the radius of the surface is changing. So you can see we've got some really large lines up here, which is telling me, you know, we may actually have some continuity issues later on when we try to mirror this across. I'm going to go ahead and add another control curve to help and alleviate this problem. And we'll just use those default control points again. What I can do now, since I'm showing that curvature data, is I can actually play with the surface and watch as the curvature changes real time. So you can see I'm just tweaking this a little bit just to bring that curvature down, make sure that we have a smooth transition when we mirror this. And I'm going to go ahead and actually do the same thing down here, because you can see we have a similar problem. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. We'll use those default control points, pull this out a little bit, and hopefully relax that curvature. Aha, looks good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this freeform feature. So once again, we started with just a simple swept surface, and using that freeform tool, we're able to really break out of the parameterization. I think that's how you say that, where we have to use dimensions and relations and all sorts of things. Instead, we can sort of make this, a more flexible design process where we're just looking at curves and, maybe sketch information, that we have from an artist or curvature, and just pushing and pulling things to get the right shape. Gives us a lot of flexibility with our design. Okay. We're going to go ahead and actually add a cut here. In fact, if I switch display states really quickly, you can see we've got a lot of wasted space on the inside here. In fact, if I go and show my artist sketch, the idea was that we'd have sort of an angled cut here along the side. You can't see it behind the surface here, but that's what we're going to try to do here. I'm going to create a quick sketch on the top plane, and we're going to actually, let me rotate this, we're going to actually create a trim and take off a slice of this surface. So there are a lot of different ways that we can trim surfaces in SolidWorks, and what I'm going to do is trim using just a simple sketch line. So we're sketching this on the top plane of the model, and then I can actually take this sketch once it's completed. You can see it down here sort of nestled right in the middle. We're going to take that and project it and actually use that to cut the surface. So let's exit the sketch, and we're going to go into our Trim Surface tool. This is one that you'll use a lot if you're going to be getting into creating models using surfaces. Really handy tool for stuff just like this. So just using that sketch line, I'm able to take off this little slice of my surface. Okay, so I actually need to, there we go. All right, so I just need to fill in this area that I've sliced off, and I'm going to use the fill surface to accomplish this. The fill surface is great for patching up holes in the model. Something else that it does really well is open holes. If I tell SolidWorks to fix up a boundary, that means even though there's a gap here, SolidWorks can sort of extrapolate that and fill it in. So really nice, really fast. One thing I actually forgot to do, I just noticed, I did tell this feature to merge, so let me check the merge results so these both get knit together. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and mirror this. Obviously, we're going to need two halves of this to fully enclose. Oops, I selected an assembly plane. I actually need to select a plane from the part. There we go. So if we want to get this other half, I am going to mirror this entire body. And SolidWorks does treat surface bodies as just regular old bodies. So I'll make sure that SolidWorks is going to knit these together. And there we are. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. What I want to do is take a look at this back end here. Now there are a number of ways we could terminate this this surface. As you can see, the artist has an idea of what we need to do, and I think I've got a sketch here. Let me find it. Flat foot. Yeah, there it is. So I've got a pre-existing sketch. You can see it in gray here. It looks like it's actually the wrong size, so I'm going to edit this real quickly and maybe increase this dimension. All right, that's close enough for our demo purposes. Let me exit this sketch. And the tool that we're going to use now is the boundary surface tool. You know, in a lot of situations, several tools could do the job. Loft surface could definitely do this. Boundary surface could do this. I'm going to go for boundary just because it's a really powerful tool. And whoops, let me actually use the selection manager here. Right-click, get into the selection manager. We want this closed loop. So let me see if I can grab it. There we go. So SolidWorks can actually create a boundary surface between an edge of an existing surface, and simply you can see just sketch to geometry. Now my handles are a little twisted up, so let me pull this up here. There we go, much better. All right. So as you can see from this preview, this surface is not really following the sketch profile. There's a pretty easy fix for this. If I look at my selections here in my boundary surface, I can actually control the continuity condition, sort of like what we were looking at a little earlier with one of our other surfaces. What I can do is say we'd like curvature to face for this edge, and you can see really quickly it really fleshes this out, and we get a much more continuous surface. It looks much better. So I'm going to go ahead and OK that. And looking at the bottom now here, we do have, once again, an open area. You know, that is the problem, of course, when you're working with surfaces. We have to close this off. Not really much of a problem with SolidWorks. We can just go for filled surface. And this tool is really very, very versatile. You know, you saw it earlier, filling in an area that didn't have a fully enclosed boundary. Here, though, you can see that we are just creating a surface that caps this off. Oh, and you know what I did? Once again, I forgot to merge those surfaces together, so I'll go ahead and edit that and merge the result. We can actually merge our surfaces together manually. We have this knit surface tool. Up here you can see in my command manager. However, it's nice to let each feature merge when it's able to. Let's see, I'm going to add a quick fillet here just to clean this up a little bit. And let's see. Wait for my preview. There it is. We'll just go for 5 millimeters. Okay. By the way, this is something I neglected to mention. If I go up here into my Evaluate tab, we have a lot of great tools for looking at models that are created with surfaces. Zebra stripes, for instance. And if we look at this, zebra stripes can actually tell us quite a bit about the geometry of our model. And if you're not familiar with zebra stripes, essentially we're projecting a pattern of stripes onto the faces in this part. And the useful information is actually deformation in these stripes. So we're looking for areas where the stripe colors don't match up, such as right here. So this would be curvature in which there's no tangency, no curvature continuity. That's fine, actually. But you can see it does reveal that. If the stripes bend, then you've got tangency but no curvature continuity. If the stripes remain undisturbed like here, then looks like we've got about a situation where there's curvature continuity, which is great. So it's a great visual aid just to see how well our surfaces are blending together. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off now. Okay, let's see what's next. Actually, this is maybe a great time to talk about the fact that SolidWorks can import a lot of different surface formats. For instance, a really popular industry format is the Rhino format. So if I go ahead and go into my open dialog here, I'm just going to show you an example of how easy it is to work with these other files. If you've got SolidWorks experience, you probably know that we can get into a lot of different file types with the software. But here we've got a .3dm file. That is a Rhino file, surface modeling software. I think it can do maybe solids as well. We just like to import this into SolidWorks, though. This is actually something from a vendor, and it's a guard for our knife assembly, or our blade assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. We're just going to save it as a SolidWorks part. I won't do feature recognition or anything like that. It's just an imported surface. We want it mainly for the geometry. And if I go back to my assembly here, let's change this so that handle is opaque. That knife guard is going to go like right here. And actually, I think it'll drop in the right place. Let's see. Knife guard, yep. So the origins match up, and that actually, you can see the origins match up in a nice place for our little demo. So I don't have to mate it in place. Saves me a little step. And there it is. So one of the reasons we're bringing in this knife guard is so that we can sort of mimic some of this geometry here. So you can see we've got this nice little curve, and maybe we want to have the same type of curve on our handle. Just make the visual style sort of continuous throughout this assembly. So we're going to actually use this as a quick reference. I'm going to make a sketch on my right plane and just use the Convert Entities tool. Hopefully y'all are familiar with this. Easy way for us to trace out existing geometry on other parts or features. And there's my projected line. Let's make that a construction arc. And then what I'm going to do is just offset this. And if I offset this without adding a dimension, which I'm not doing just by not checking this box, the cool thing that I can do is actually take this and drag it around. And let's actually look at a normal view here. There we go. So if I take this, notice how I can move it further away from the parent arc. Oops, I accidentally made a relation there. But what I can't do is, you'll notice that the offset radius is still changing, right? They're still lined up with each other. So that's really nice. It means that I can really quickly just offset this, and now I've got a piece of our geometry. So what geometry is that a piece of? Maybe I should clarify here. What we want to do is make a nice termination for this part. Now I could just do a trim with this line, but we want to do something a little fancier. What I'd like to do is have a boundary that's got two curvatures, one vertical curvature and one horizontal oriented curvature. So I'm going to make a second sketch, and we'll see how we can combine those. So here's my second sketch. Looking from the top, what I want my future trim to look like is just an arc, sort of like this. So let me place my geometry, add a couple of relations here, make these guys horizontal to each other just so this is centered. And here's the idea. I need to get a point, so I'll just add a point to this arc. And now I can take that point and add a pierce relation between the point and this other arc we offset here. So I'm turning to the side so we can see that. pierce those. Okay. And the curvature looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and exit this sketch. Remember the boundary tool? We used it to make that little foot on the back there. Well, the boundary tool is really a great multi-purpose tool. We're going to use boundary surface again. And what I can do is specify two directions here. This isn't so much a boundary as it is just two reference curves. And you can see, I love this, when I add those two curves, SolidWorks just creates that complex surface there. It's with two different curvatures there. And there's the preview. Looks awesome. I'm going to hit OK. Okay. So this is a situation for the trim tool to take care of. We've got these overhanging surfaces. This is a really common technique with surfacing. We'll make surfaces that are too big, and then we can trim them later on once we've got the inside surface that we need. So I'm going to use a mutual trim, which means I can select two surfaces, and then I can select pieces of both of those that I'd like to go away. So we'll just remove those outer pieces, and there's our result. Looks really nice. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to take a moment and just add a few fillets. Let's see, we'll add one to the top and the bottom here. Oh, I don't know, 6 millimeters maybe. That looks pretty good. Obviously, we're not lined up perfectly with the sketch. If we really cared about getting this perfect, we could go back and change things like our freeform, our original sweep, and so forth to make sure that this is perfect. For our demo, though, we'll just forge on ahead. I'm going to do a face fillet, actually, between these two faces. And I don't have a preview now. That's okay. With SolidWorks surfaces, we need to make sure that, oops, turned it off. Oh, now I just messed up all my selections. Let's see. Let's try this again. What I need to do is make sure the direction points the right way so the fillet knows which way to curve. Now, I don't know if you all can see this. It doesn't show up too well on my screen, but right now this 3 millimeter fillet is really tapering to a very tiny width back here. What I can do with my fillet options to straighten that out is under fillet options, we can say make this constant width, and you'll see that preview pops out. So now this is going to be a much more clean, much more uniform looking fillet there. Great. I'll just hit Enter, recall that last fillet command, because I do want to, I should have recalled it. I wonder if my recording software is interfering. Okay, fine. I'll just click on the fillet tool to bring it back. And same thing basically over here. Make sure the directions point the right way, constant width. And there we are. Okay, so one little detail that we need to take care of really quickly here, and that is you can see our blades are actually cutting right through this part. Maybe before we do that though, I'm forgetting all sorts of stuff. We have a button that we need to place here, and I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can show. I've got a sketch here. Aha, there it is, the thumb recess sketch. Let's unsuppress that. So there it is. You can see you've got this sketch here, and we need a thumb button. I completely forgot about this. I need to use this actually to trim. So let me go back to standard trim. Trim tool is a sketch, and we'll just remove this little section up here. Because what I need to do is, and you can see it in the artist rendering there, artist sketch. We need a button here. So let me unsuppress my little button surface, just a representation here. And this is something else that fill surface can do really well. I've selected the fill surface tool, and if I select all these boundaries, notice that I'm selecting the outside, and then I'm also going to actually grab this edge of my little button. And the fill tool can actually form to that and make sure fix up is not turned on, merge result is. And what it does is it creates a surface. You can see it on the outside here. And it's going to just terminate right up against the edges of this button. So really handy. And let me add a quick fillet there. I don't know, like 1.5 maybe. There we go. Okay. I had completely forgotten about that little detail. Kind of important though. Okay, so right now we have in this part a surface. In fact, we have two surface bodies. You can see if I highlight them here. There's one. There's the other. So I need to knit these together before I thicken them. So let me grab the knit surface tool, really simple tool. I'll just say merge entities. And let's go ahead and hit OK. All right, so if I do a quick section here, just want to show you that this is in fact a two-dimensional surface. And let's hide that sketch so it's more obvious. All right, there's zero thickness here. For a lot of modelers, this is the hard part, but really it doesn't have to be. You know, we have tools like Thicken that really do a great job of taking our existing surface, and you can see my little preview there. Let's dial in a thickness of 2 millimeters. All right, this is actually the important part, right? This is the jump. We're going from a surface model, you know, where we have lots of flexibility with the way we can shape and deform and trim and slice and add new surfaces. We're taking this and we're now going to the world of the solid model. Let's see. And all that fanfare, and it looks like I have something going on with my surface. Well, it didn't do this to me when I was looking at this model before. Let's see if it likes this. Well, let me open up this part. Let's see if we can troubleshoot this. Well, that all looks good. It actually might be this fillet here. I think maybe my radius is too small. Let's see if it'll take 2 millimeters. I think maybe that was it. Let's try that. You know, when we thicken a surface and we have really small fillets, it's important that we don't thicken to a number that is larger than our smallest fillet radius, and that might have been my mistake there. I might have used the wrong number. Let's see if this works. Still not happy. Well, just for the purpose of this demo, let me try a smaller number here. Okay, well, we'll take one more look at this model. I really suspect that area is a problem area. So maybe what we'll try, just to see what happens, is let me suppress that surface trim, and let's try knitting this together. Okay, that looks, oh no, it still doesn't work. No, you know, I'm actually a little bit stumped here. I'll have to maybe take a look at this model. Oh wait, no, we didn't knit all of our surfaces. I wonder if that's the problem. Let me try suppressing this thumb button. Well, I ran through this several times earlier. Just my luck that it doesn't work. Must have been something that I did differently this time around. Okay, well, let's see. What can we do? We have our surface body here. Okay, well, this pretty much was the end of our demo. I was really hoping to get that thicken. Not sure why it isn't working now. So what I may have to do, oh, and it looks like we've already hit our 30-minute time limit anyway. If there are any questions, I think there's an opportunity for you to ask them. There's a little window there. Let's see. You know, it looks like there actually are some questions. I'm going to see if I can expand this. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.